If you are in search of a purpose-built way to get a more rugged feel for your truck, this Atlas roll bar in black will be a great mod to consider for your 2007 through 2013 Sierra 1500. Now with the Baja Chase rack style appearance, this is a good option to toughen up the style of your truck, but also get some utility in the meantime, whether you are taking gear or cargo along with you day to day or just every so often and want a sturdy system to do it with. Now this will also offer your build lighting options if you need an all-in-one solution that will both give you out-of-bed storage and additional visibility for wherever and whenever you need it. Now, aside from the look that this will offer your Sierra, the big benefits here are the cargo storage and the lighting choices that this brings to the table. Now, this will have a very large basket-style rack mounted to the back of the roll bar, creating a large platform for whatever cargo that you need to take with you, gear, tools, equipment, or anything that you can fit on here, supporting up to 150 pounds. Now, the rack and the basket will both integrate tough tie-downs to secure whatever you're taking with you for some peace of mind that it's going to stay in place, and this is going to be more of a wire rack system, so you really have a lot of options when it comes to securing your cargo. Now on the front of this rack, this will also feature a roofline light mounting system. Now I don't have it on the table because of the size of this rack, but this will accept a lot of universal lighting options. It's going to fit most styles, configurations, and sizes of lights, so you can further tailor this roll bar and the functionality of this to your build. Now this system is made of a majority of 3-inch diameter steel tubing, making for a beefier construction, and with the addition of the cargo basket, both will be very durable and add a lot of structural rigidity to your truck. Now on top of all of it is going to be a nice textured black powder coat finish to protect the steel underneath from rusting and prevent any surface scratching that could potentially cause rust down the line. Now this will also have some red accenting along the sides of the roll bar. Those are going to be removable plates, so if you do want to change up the color or create a more neutral appearance, you do have that option for a more custom look to this roll bar if you choose to do so. Now this kit will also include a third brake light that is completely built in on the back, so it is going to keep up to OE standard. That is pre-installed right out of the box. It will also include a wiring harness here with some nice sheathing to it. It will have a grommet on the back to make sure that it is weather tight. You will have to do a little bit of wiring in order to get that working properly, but we will show you how to do that in just a second. Now this will come in at about $950, which is actually going to be pretty average in price for this type of mod. Now most other chase racks and roll bar choices in the category won't have functional storage solutions like this one does, which is going to give this the one up and be great if you need, or you know that you need, that dual purpose application for your Sierra. Now it's also a shorter tubular choice over plated options or even racks that will span farther down the bed if you have a specific style in mind for your build. Now overall, I think if you're looking for a well-built chase rack or roll bar for the back of your Sierra that's going to offer you storage and lighting solutions for your truck, then this is going to be a great choice to consider. Install here will be a 2 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter. I do recommend some mechanical experience in order to get the job done, but it should only take you about 2 hours or so, give or take. Now you will have to do some drilling into the truck bed in order to install this, and you will need to do some modification with some tonneau cover applications if you choose to add that on top of this rack. So just keep that in mind when it comes time to install this. However, at this point, we're going to head over to our shop. I'm going to pass you over to one of our installers. They're going to show you a detailed breakdown on how you can get this onto your Sierra, whether you are tackling this job yourself or you're just curious about the install. So that is going to wrap it up for my review. Let's go ahead and get into it.
Tools required for this install include a ratchet, wire strippers and crimpers, scissors or diagonal cutters, 10 and 13 millimeter wrenches, a pick, T15 torque socket, 4, 5, and 8 millimeter Allen sockets, some electrical tape, a tape measure, an extension, 13 and 16 millimeter sockets, a couple butt connectors, male spade connectors, and T-taps, a grabber tool, and some 18 gauge wire and wire ties. What's up guys? Today we're installing a roll bar on our Sierra, so let's get started. So the first thing we're gonna do is assemble our main hoop. Now we have this tube that's gonna go in between the two. It's slotted, so it's a little bit adjustable. So we're gonna take our M8 by 25 bolts with lock washer and flat washer and thread them through these slots and into the threaded holes in our hoops. Now we're gonna leave these hand tight for now so we can do any final adjustments we need once we have this rack onto the bed. So now once we have our hole exposed, just gonna thread our bolt into place. And then we can connect the other side. And now once we have that hole lined up, thread the bolt into that side as well. Next we can install our leg. So we're gonna have to pull this big cap off on the back of our main hoop. And then we can flip this around. And we have another cap on this side. Now on the other side we have another plug. So we'll pop that out. This one we won't need to keep, we can get rid of that. And now we're gonna take this big M12 Allen bolt. We're gonna go from the front side, it's gonna be the bigger hole, into the smaller hole. And then that's gonna go into this top hole on our leg here. So now you wanna be very careful not to drop this down into there. So what I'm gonna do is kind of tilt this back. I've got an 8mm Allen socket holding that bolt. And I'm just gonna very carefully get that through the hole. And then I'll lay this all the way down so it's sitting on that extension so that it can't go anywhere. I'm gonna grab that leg and line the hole up. And then I'm just gonna start twisting on the extension. And then we can take our M10 bolt with a lock washer and a flat washer and thread it into the hole on the front. And then do that same thing on the other side and just leave it hand tight for now. So now we can mount our mounting plates to our bar here. Now there's a closed end here and then an end that's got a piece cut out of it. This end's gonna go towards the front of the truck. So we're gonna take our big M12 Allen bolts and thread these in. Once again, we're just threading them in loosely until we get everything mounted up. And do that same thing on the other side. Now next we're gonna add our side plate. This is gonna go right here. You got a couple different options mounting this up. You could just mount it straight up like this and have this logo be see-through. You could put the red on there to get that logo to pop. Now if you do this, you're gonna have red on the back side. So then you could use this black plate to cover it up so that you're not seeing it on the inside of the roll bar. Or if you'd like just a sleek look, you can put the black behind it. You'll get a look, you'll be able to see the logo, but it'll be nice and sleek for you. Now, the way we're gonna do this is by sandwiching the red in between the two black here. And then we're gonna grab M6 bolts with a flat washer going through the front, and then we're gonna put another flat washer and a nut on the back side. So then wash your nut on the back. And then just do the same thing for the other three holes. And then just like everything else, we're gonna leave this loose for now, and then you can do the same thing on the other side. Next, we can mount our accessory bar to the front of our roll bar. So we're gonna take a couple spacers, drop those right on top, and then we'll drop these on top of the spacers. You're gonna take your M8 by 30 bolt with a flat washer, put that through the top, and then get another flat washer, a lock washer, and a nut on the bottom. And just like everything else, we're gonna leave those loose for now. Next, we're gonna mount our 2 brackets that hold our top basket. Now this one is gonna be exactly the same for both sides. This one's gonna be mirrored for the other side. So to figure out which is which, drop your first bracket into place, and then your second one's gonna go on these 2 riv nuts. You can lay that down, and as we can see, these 2 are flat with each other. If you had the other side one, it would be more down here at an angle, which obviously won't work. So now we're gonna take our M8 bolts with a lock washer and a flat washer and start threading them in hand tight into those holes. This top one's got 2 on the outside and then 1 on the inside here. And then we can move down to our other one. Same bolt, lock washer, and flat washer for this one. And then just get everything hand tight and do the same thing on the other side. Now next we can grab our top and lay this down onto our brackets, and then we can grab our hardware and install. So now we can take our M8 bolt with a flat washer and drop that down through the top of our bracket. And then we're gonna get a flat washer, a lock washer, and a nut on the bottom side. And then do that same thing on the back here. And once again, leave it all loose for now. Do the same on the other side. So now's a good time to grab yourself a buddy and help you lift this thing up into the bed. So we fully compressed it inwards so that it's the shortest width here. If we need to stretch it out, we can once we get it in to get it to sit on the side of the bed. So now that we have this lifted onto the bed, we're gonna have to mount it down to the bed. So on this bracket, we have these 3 holes. So what you're gonna wanna do is get this pulled apart so that you got a flush fit up against the bed rail on both sides. And then you're gonna take a marker and mark in this hole. You're gonna have to drill out a 12mm sized hole. For demonstration purposes, we're not gonna be drilling into our truck. However, just mark the holes and then grab your buddy again to help you lift this back off. Grab a 12mm drill bit and get to drilling. So now once you have your holes in the bed drilled, the last thing we're gonna do before we get this up there is tighten down these bolts at the bottom of our bracket. So I'm just gonna center these up, get them nice and centered in that slot, and then take an 8mm Allen socket and tighten them down. Same thing on the bottom. And then do the same thing on the other side, and then we'll get this back onto the truck. Now next we're gonna have to run this wire for our 3rd brake light. Now we have a grommet right here on our main bar that we're gonna be feeding this through, and it's gonna run down the bar and towards the bed rail. So we're gonna start off by just feeding it through that grommet, and then we're just gonna shove that through. So now we need to fish that wire out at this grommet at the bottom of our main bar. Now we still have that grommet that we didn't reinstall from where we put that bolt through. So I've kind of grabbed some of the wire. We can use this to raise or lower the wire so that we can grab it out of the hole. I'm gonna be using a grabber. This thing has a handle on one end and you can grab something on the other, and then we can fish it out that way. In order to use this tool, we are gonna have to remove this grommet at the bottom. So we'll pop that out and get our tool in there, and then we can work this wire back and forth until we can grab onto it to pull it out. So now we can pop this grommet out of the way. You can just get your fingernail out under it to pop it out. And then we're just gonna stick that grabber in there. And then feed our wire down. Now once you have that through, you can pull it the rest of the way. And then we'll slide our grommet over the wires and over the sheathing and pop that back into place. You can use a pick if you'd like to help you pop that in. Now once you have that wire fished through, we can start mounting this to the bed. So you're just gonna slide your rack back to those holes that you drilled earlier with that 12mm drill bit. And then we're gonna take our M10 bolts with a flat washer. That's gonna go through the hole in the front. And then on the back, we're gonna get another flat washer, a lock washer, and a nut. You're gonna do that for all three on this side, all three on this side, get it fully tightened down using a 16mm socket and 16mm wrench. So now we can start tightening everything down. I'm gonna start with 13mm bolts on these two brackets. We're gonna get this 16mm bolt back here, and then we'll tighten down our logo plate. So 13mm socket for these four. And then switch to your 16mm socket. And then we'll grab a 4mm Allen socket and 10mm wrench for these four bolts. Go ahead and get it nice and centered up before you start tightening everything down. And then repeat that process on the other side. Next, we can tighten down that bolt that we put through the tube. So I'm gonna get my 8mm Allen socket and a 3-inch extension and get that through first and onto the bolt. And then I'll throw my ratchet on the other side and tighten that down. And pop the ratchet out, slide that out, and then we can grab that grommet, pop that back into place. And do that same thing on the other side. Next, we can take a 13mm socket and wrench to tighten down the bolts up top. And then do the same on the other side. Next, we can come to the underside of our main bar and take a 5mm Allen socket to tighten down our two bolts. And then we can go up top to our accessory bar. Next, we can take a 5mm Allen socket and a 13mm wrench to tighten down the bolts on our accessory bar. And then repeat the same process for those two on the other side. So now that we have our roll bar fully assembled, now we can get started on the wiring for our third brake light. Now you can wire this up however you'd like. The way I'm gonna do it is I'm gonna run extension wires from the harness in the back, tucked up along the bed rail, and then we're gonna go through this hole. There's a hole down in this pocket that'll lead us into the taillight bucket where we can splice into our brake light wires. So I'm gonna take a tape measure, measure the length of the bed here, and then just kind of estimate the length here to get to the taillight bucket. I'm gonna add a little bit more just to be safe before we cut our wire. So we've got a little over 5 feet there. And then we can kind of estimate another 1.25 feet. So that'll put us right about 6.5 feet. So I'm gonna cut 7 feet just to be safe. So now we can measure out and cut our 7 feet of wire. And I also have some electrical tape so that we can tape it up together, make it nice and clean, and protect it from the elements. If you have wire sheathing, you could also use that as opposed to the electrical tape, and then you just use a little electric tape just to tape it up at the ends. So I'm using 18 gauge wire here. I've got a red for my power. I'm gonna use blue for the ground since I don't have black here. And then I'm just gonna put those ends together and just pull out 7 feet. And 7 feet will put us right there. So I'll take a pair of diagonal cutters and make my cut. And then we'll take that electrical tape. I'm gonna leave a good amount on each end so that we can strip and crimp these wires up to the harness as well as to the taillight. And then I'm probably gonna end it around there for the side that's going to our taillight. So we'll just cut that off. stick it down, and then we can hop back to the truck and get our wiring situated. So now we can connect our harness to those extension wires. Now there's a black and a red for power and ground. The black does also have a strip of red, so just be careful when you go to hook it up. So now we're gonna grab a pair of wire strippers and strip back some lead on the end of our wires. And then I'm just gonna twist up that lead, make it nice and tight. And then I'm gonna take butt connectors, slide them onto one end, and then take wire crimpers to crimp it down. So now we can connect our harness to our extension wires. Now there's a red and a black wire. The black wire does have a strip of red on it as well, so just be careful when you're wiring this up. Double check. Then we can take a pair of wire strippers to strip back some lead at the end of our wire. And then I'm gonna take that lead and twist it up, make it nice and tight. And then I'm gonna connect these up with butt connectors. So I'm just gonna slide the wire into one end and then take wire crimpers to crimp down on it. And I'll do the same thing on our positive. Crimp down on that wire. And now we can do the same thing on our two extension wires. Start off by stripping back some lead. Twist that lead up. And then we're gonna be sliding these into the other side of our butt connectors. So I'm gonna get the red to the red. Slide that in and then grab the crimpers. Crimp down on that. And then do the same thing for your negative. Once again, I'm using this blue wire for the negative. Slide that all the way in. And then grab your crimpers. And now I'm just gonna electric tape from the sheathing to the electric tape that we did on the table. And we can cut off the excess here and finish wrapping that up. So now I'm gonna go ahead and remove our driver's side taillight before we start running this wire. That way we just have more access, we can see what we're working with and how we wanna route this. So I'm gonna take a T15 Torx socket to remove the two screws here, and then we can pull straight back on our taillight to remove it. And then we're gonna twist to the left on all these bulb sockets, pop those out. And we can set this to the side for now. So now we can run our extension wires towards the taillight bucket. I'm gonna be tucking it up under this bed rail. Now there's a hole here and here on this side that we can run that through. And then there's a similar hole right back here. And if we put it through there, that'll lead into the taillight bucket. So to route this, I'm gonna be using these wire clips. They've got a couple holes for the wire to go into and then double-sided tape on the back. So we'll get our wire fed through there and then we can stick it up there to keep it nice and out of the way. So I've got that clipped on the wire now. I can pull my double-sided tape backing and then I'll just run it cleanly up here, stick it up there. Next, I'm gonna take these wires and pass it through these holes here. And I'm gonna get another one of these clips and put it up here. So slide that on first. They go on in opposite directions. And then peel that backing. Find a nice flat piece, stick it down. And then now we have one more hole right here that's gonna drop down and into the taillight bucket. So I'm gonna slide that through there. I'm gonna get one more of these right before that hole, just so that we can make sure everything stays nice and hidden. Find a good place to stick that down. And now this is run nice and clean, we can go into the taillight bucket, pull our wires through, and make our connections. So now we can reach back through this hole in the taillight bucket. I can see my harness here. And we'll just grab that and pull it through. And now we're gonna be connecting this to the top brake light bulb. Now the way I'm gonna be doing this is by using these T-taps that are here from a previous install and male spade connectors on the end of our wire. Now this connector has a green, a brown, and a black wire. The green wire powers the brakes, the black wire is the ground, so those are the ones that you're gonna wanna install your T-taps off of. So the way these work is there's a metal fork in here. You would put that metal piece around the wire, close this up, and then take a pair of pliers to crimp it down. That's gonna cut into the wire to make our connection with the metal inside the wire. So you can just go ahead and do that to the green and the black wires on the very top bulb. And then we can strip back some lead on these wires to crimp on our male spade connectors. So grab your wire strippers, strip back that lead, and then twist it up. And then slide your male spade connector over that wire. And grab your wire crimpers. Crimp down on that. And then let's do that same thing for the power. Crimp that down. And then we can attach our red wire for the power for our third brake light to the green wire. And then the blue, which is what I'm using for the ground for the third brake light, is going to the black wire. And then I'm just going to use a zip tie to tie up this excess wire, keep it out of the way. And then I'm just going to chop off that excess. And now we can pop our bulbs back into their spots in the taillight, slide this back in, bolt it down, and wrap up this install. So just pop these in, twist them to the right to lock them into place. And then just feed your wires back, line everything up, press it into place, and then we can thread in those two bolts. And take that T15 torque socket, tighten these down. So that'll wrap up this review and install of the Atlas roll bar in black for your 2007 to 18 Sierra 1500. Thank you for watching, and for all things Sierra, keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.